Good morning. Welcome to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Gradick, your host. Delighted to have you with us. It's been a beautiful weekend, and it's going to be a beautiful day, and we're just so thankful that you're tuning in. We're grateful to our sponsors, Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy, and we're more than honored and pleased to have in studio with us Randy Sanders, president of Sanders Associates Insurance. Good morning, Randy.
Hello, Steve.
It's good to have you with us. We're going to have a great topic that basically affects, sometime or another, affects everybody.
7 out of 10 is the statistics.
Let me give a quick little bio that I found on the website. Randy's the president of Sanders Associates Insurance Incorporated. He was born and raised in Haralson County, where he started his company 44 short years ago. Randy's an expert in the areas of Medicare, life insurance, long-term care insurance, and annuities. He's been West Georgia's trusted insurance and financial partner for over 40 years. You're making me feel young a little bit because I've been doing this for 35 years, so you got me beat. And he has been named Haralson County's best financial planner for 6 of the last 7 years. He's earned a stellar reputation for advising and caring for seasoned citizens. Oh boy, Randy is passionate about helping all his clients, but seasoned citizens hold a special place in his heart. He's past president of the Tallapoosa Lions Club and has served as chairman of their annual charity golf tournament for over 20 years.
That is correct.
Talk about paying your dues and leaving a legacy and all those great things. You certainly have invested in everybody around here for many decades, and we're grateful for that. We're going to jump in. We're going to just give you a little tease here. We're here mainly to talk about something called the Long Term Care Symposium. It's coming up this Saturday. Give us just a taste of what it is, Randy, and then we're going to come back and we're going to dive in deep.
All right, sir. This Saturday, Steve, we're having the grand opening of the Long Term Care Center. Saturday, April the 30th, this Saturday from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock at the Sewell Mill Event Center in Bremen, Georgia. We're calling our symposium, Don't Let Growing Old Steal Your Gold. And by the way, that came from one of your buddies, Dwayne. Great title, because what the topic we're going to be talking about this weekend can definitely have an impact on your financial situation. So don't let growing old steal your goal. The Long-Term Care Center, Steve, is basically going to be a one-stop shop where people can come, sit down, relax, talk to us about their concerns for their health care going forward into the future, and get some advice. I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more a little later, but we've put together a heck of a team to help people when it comes to their aging health care.
Well, we're going to talk about that and talk about the many challenges of when you or a loved one or both end up in the latter years and health becomes a real issue and long-term care becomes a real issue. And it can bring a family close together or it can drive it apart. It
really can, Steve. And what we see many, many times is when mom or dad health begins to fail, the children all of a sudden are called upon to be caregivers. Mm-hmm. And I will give you a quote that one of my clients told me that resonates with me and is one of the main reasons that I'm forming the Long-Term Care Center. She told me this, Steve. She said, one mother can raise 4 children, but 4 children cannot look after one mother.
Yes, it's a challenge.
And what we see many, many times is, in this case, there was 4 children, and the burden basically fell on just one of them.
Well, that's why we're here this morning, is to offer some hope and some encouragement and some solutions to the many challenges that families face when caring for an elderly member of the family. We're going to take a break and come back in a moment with Randy Sanders, president of Sanders Associates Insurance. But first, this word.
As a graduate of Oak Mountain Academy, I've found that my experience on the mountain prepared me beyond all expectations. As a junior at Auburn University, I approached my studies with great confidence thanks to what I learned at OMA. When I think back on my time on the mountain, I think of my teachers. Their genuine love and concern for me as a student was always evident, and now, as an adult, I still foster those relationships. I'm Carly Robinson, an Oak Mountain Academy alum. Visit oakmountain.us to see how you can offer your child an amazing opportunity to be a warrior.
Health is a journey, It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Graddick, your host. Got a good friend in the studio, Randy Sanders, president of Sanders Associates Insurance. And we're talking about the Long Term Care Symposium. We're going to hear a whole lot more from Randy about the Long Term Care Center. But before we jump into both of those, Randy, really, as you get older, you know, we're concerned about a lot of things. But when your health goes, other things really don't matter.
Well, when people talk about threats to their financial security, Steve, right now they're really worried about inflation. And people are wondering if they have enough money saved to last as long as they do. And then, of course, you got crime, you got open borders, you got a war going on in Ukraine. And these are all valid concerns, Steve. But that is not the greatest threat to their financial security. The greatest threat to their financial security is failing health. And failing health can destroy their wealth faster than those other things combined. And that is why we are setting up and opening the Long Term Care Center.
And the kickoff to that is the Long Term Care Symposium this Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Sewell Mill Event Center, 126 Hamilton Avenue in Bremen. And it says here we have a star-studded lineup of expert speakers in the field of long-term care. So take us deeper into this. Tell us more.
Steve, what we've done at the Long Term Care Center is we wanted to create a one-stop shop where people could come, sit down and relax, talk to us about their concerns for their health care going forward, and have a one-stop shop where they can come and get all the answers. I have put together a phenomenal team of experts on every level of long-term care. And I'd like to share with you, Steve,
Please,
who these team members are. We've got custodial in-home care. We've got Valerie Golden with Moments in Time to be our expert in that particular area of long-term care. Then we have skilled in-home care. And we have a fine gal named Crystal Turner. She's with Amedisys Home Health. Then we have hospice. And we have Megan Hatchett with Traditions Health, who is an expert in the area of hospice, assisted living, and memory care. Rita Miller is our expert in that area. Rita is with the Birches in Villa Rica, Georgia. And then we have Joy Powers, who is the administrator at the Oaks here in Carrollton, and she's going to be our expert on nursing home and rehab. So, Steve, we have got every level of care. We have an expert on the team that can help people in those areas of care. But we go a step further, Steve. We have legal, financial, and planning help. We are proud to have a gentleman named Eric S. Abney from the law firm of Greg Shadricks and Linda Palmer right here in Carrollton. Eric is our elder care attorney, and he's going to be talking about the legal aspects of aging. And then finally, the guy talking to you is going to show you how to plan and pay for this stuff without it stealing your goal.
So in effect, what you're saying is in the West Georgia region, we have a whole lot of resources, but we're kind of scattered as far as putting them all together and understanding and becoming knowledgeable of what resources are available to us.
And the Long Term Care Center has finally brought everybody together in one entity. I'll give you an example. When Mama had her stroke back in 2017 and we got her home from the hospital in rehab, the very first day she was home, it became obvious that she couldn't stay by herself anymore. I didn't know what to do. And so I got on the computer and I Googled Home Health Care, Buchanan, Georgia. And it popped up these places, and I called them, and we just started from scratch. I had no idea where to turn. Now, Steve, there is one location, one center where people can come and get all of their questions answered about long-term care, not only the care itself, but legal help and planning and financial help, all in one location, Steve. That's the beauty of the Long-Term Care Center.
Is lack of education of the resources really the biggest challenge that families face? They just don't know where to go or to whom to go to?
I'll give you a prime example of that. About a week ago, I had one of my clients to give me a call. And he said, Randy, we're going to have some help with my wife. And he began to tell me the problems that they were having with her. And it was basically a cognitive problem, dementia, Alzheimer's. And he said, we've got to have some help. And he asked me, he said, who do you recommend that I talk to? And we were just putting the center together. And I finally had an answer for that. But then the second thing that he asked me is the big problem, Steve. He said, now, Randy, that Medicare and that Medicare supplement that we have with you is going to pay for this, right? And I said, no, I'm sorry, it is not going to pay. And he says, my gosh, Randy, it's going to be about $5,000 a month. How am I going to pay for this? Well, unfortunately, this gentleman is going to go into this facility, or his wife is going to go into this facility on what we call private pay. He, from his funds, his savings, life savings, Steve, is going to be paying $5,000 a month to have his wife taken care of. That's why I say the greatest threat, Steve, to the people's financial security is not inflation. It's not the stock market. It's not who is in power in Washington, D.C. The greatest threat to anyone's financial security is a long-term care event with failing health.
But there are no easy answers.
There are no easy answers. The Long-Term Care Center is going to attempt to provide answers, but those will certainly not be easy answers by any stretch of the imagination. At least we have someone to talk to. At least we have somewhere to go. And that is when something happens. You know, a lot of times it happens fairly quickly. Like with Mother. Mother was the most independent lady in the United States of America. And then in 2017, she had the stroke, and everything changed. She went from independence and not wanting any help to, on the drive home, I'll never forget, we were bringing her home from the rehab center up in Rome, Georgia. And it was me, her sister, and Mother driving home. And she said something to us in the car I'll never forget. She said, you know, when I get home, I'm not going to be able to stay by myself. And I don't know why I hadn't thought of that. That's not something that I had thought about. And that's when I got on the internet, Googled in-home health care, Buchanan, Georgia, to find somewhere to turn. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. But it was obvious Mother could not stay by herself.
You know, parents end up spending many, many years of their lives raising their children. And then in the latter years, our elderly parents and grandparents can become childlike.
Absolutely.
And therefore, the situation is reversed. So it's a great opportunity and it's a great treasure for that child to be able to care for that elderly loved one. But it's also a challenge for that child because they have their own families now.
Well, and I have a business, have two businesses as well.
Yeah, and have businesses, and so what the symposium and the Long-Term Care Center can actually make the family bond stronger.
Absolutely, and it can give them relief. It can give them answers. It can give them a place to go. In my situation, I have two brothers. One lives in Houston, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is up on the North Carolina line, up in North Georgia. I was 10 minutes from Mother.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who got to look after Mama?
Yeah.
I did.
I've been there, I know.
I did. And so, again, I could, Mother didn't say this, but she could have easily said one mother can raise 3 boys, but 3 boys can't look after one mother because it fell to me. And not because my 2 brothers were not willing to help. I mean, when you've got one in Houston, Texas, and one up in Dawsonville, Georgia, and I'm 10 minutes away, well, needless to say, I'm the one that was right here with her. I mean, we lived in Haralson County together. And it fell to me, and I don't begrudge a minute of it. It was a precious 2 years for me to be with Mother, and I was holding her hand when she passed on, Steve.
You started out by giving the example of the gentleman whose wife, I believe it was a dementia, and it was going to be $5,000 a month or $60,000 a year. It was going to come out of his life savings.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very difficult situation. And how do you counsel someone like him?
Well, the thing with him is we have to sit down and take a look at the resources, which is basically the assets, the savings. And we just have to, there's not a lot we can do at that point. And Steve, that's another thing. People, my clients, unfortunately, call me when they're in a crisis situation. Like the gentleman I just alluded to. His wife was already in a crisis. They had to do something, Steve. She couldn't stay at home anymore. Had we talked about this years in advance, we could have done some planning to have policies and plans in place that could have funded that $5,000 a month for him, and he would not have to have depleted his life savings. And so the reality is there's 2 types of planning. There's pre-planning and there's crisis planning. And when folks come to me in crisis, there's not a whole lot I can do. Unfortunately, Steve, this gentleman is experiencing a thing that we call spend down. They spend down their personal savings, their personal assets, until they get down to a basically poverty level. And then we apply to the state of Georgia and place them on what's called Medicaid. And in Georgia, if you're on Medicaid, Medicaid will pay for the long-term care. But that's after you have gone through a lifetimes of savings, Steve. And that's just a tragedy that can be prevented with proper planning.
Our guest this morning is Randy Sanders, the president of Sanders Associates Insurance. We're talking about the Long Term Care Symposium coming up this Saturday from 1 to 3 at Sewell Mill Event Center on Hamilton Avenue in Bremen, and that's going to be the kickoff of the Long Term Care Center. We're on 106.3 FM, 1330 AM on our website streaming, and also on Facebook Live, and we've got a bunch of people watching on Facebook Live, some friends I hadn't seen in a long time, so give a shout out to all of them, and we thank you for listening, and we'll be back with more after this.
Oak Mountain Academy has offered a challenging college preparatory education for 60 years. With over 500 graduates, we have maintained a 100% college acceptance rate. Over 90% of our students earn acceptance to their first choice of college or university, and over the past 5 years, our students have earned over $10 million in scholarship offers. Our students are creating a legacy. Come, be a part of our family and create your own legacy today. To learn more, visit us at oakmountain.us.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Greidick, your host. Delighted to have you with us. Randy Sanders, President of Sanders Associates Insurance, is in studio. We're on Facebook Live. If you have any questions, feel free to post. Long Term Care Symposium that's coming up Saturday, April 1st, April Fool's Day, right?
April 30th, by the way, Steve.
April 30th. That's wrong here. It says April. Oh, it's April 1st. Yeah, we got a misprint. From 1 to 3 p.m. at Sewell Mill this Saturday, April 30th, Hamilton Avenue in Bremen. All right, as families get into this, then some terms start to, get thrown around. Home health care, assisted living, nursing home, memory care, round-the-clock sitters. How in the world do you know which approach? And of course, you mentioned hospice. How do you know which approach is the appropriate one?
Well, I think that you have to sit down and just talk, Steve. That's the key, just talk. We have a form that we fill out that tends to indicate the level of care that they're going to be needing. Many times I see it start with in-home care. Mm-hmm. And as we said a little bit earlier, there's two levels of in-home care. We have the custodial care, which basically is cooking your meals, sweeping your floor, cleaning your house, doing your laundry, those type of services that you're no longer able to perform yourself. Now, Medicare does not pay for custodial home health care. Like with Mother, I've talked about her situation. We paid $20 an hour, Steve, to have someone stay with Mother.
Right.
40 hours a week, that's $800 a week. Thank God I had those two brothers to third that with me.
Right.
The next level of in-home care is to skilled care. Now, this is Medicare funded. This is professional care where they come in and do the physical therapy, the speech therapy, the occupational therapy. Check for the medications, make sure they're being taken appropriately, this type of thing. And we do have Medicare funding for the skill level of in-home care.
Is it 100%?
100% paid for by Medicare. That is correct. So we're in good shape there. Hospice, a different story. I'll let the lady tell the story Saturday, but I'll never forget what she said when we had our planning meeting. When it came her time to talk, she said, "I'm the hospice person. I'm the person that kills people." But we all laughed, and she said, "But that's not it." Her story was eye-opening. There's so many things that hospice does and it's not about helping someone die. It's much more than that. Her story was intriguing, no doubt about that. Assisted living, once we cannot have people cared for in the home anymore, but they don't need 24-hour around-the-clock care, then an assisted living is a good place to go. Miss Rita Miller at the Birches in Billerica is an expert in that area of assisted living. Also, memory care. Now, this gentleman that I talked to you about earlier, the $5,000 a month client, she wound up in a memory care facility because her problems were not physical. Her problems were mental. Cognitive decline. She did not know her children anymore. She didn't know her husband anymore, and had become, unfortunately, a little violent. So they had to do something, and so that's where the memory care unit comes in. And then when you need skilled care 24 hours a day, the nursing home is where we normally see people end up. Joy Powers at the Oaks is going to be speaking on that on Saturday. So it's kind of a continuum. It's kind of a in-home. It begins, at least with my situation, and most I see, it starts in home, then graduates out to the assisted living, and then graduates out on into the nursing community.
Or memory care.
Or memory care can be a step in that process as well.
I've always believed, because with my experience I was exposed to, there's a whole army of caregivers out there. And they're virtually unseen until you have an elderly relative. You don't know that all these people are doing this, whether it's memory care, assisted living, in-home, etc.
Yeah.
But there's a whole wealth of people out there, and they don't get many accolades, and they're not getting rich, and they're not getting the news stories or whatever, but they're helping families take care of their loved ones.
I will tell you and Steve, we went through 3 agencies until we found the right fit for Mother. She's a very, very vocal even after the stroke, and I said, Mama, how's it going? And the story she told me, and she said, I want you to get someone else. And so I had to go and I had to bring somebody else in. Unfortunately, they didn't work either. So we had to bring another third try. And the third time was the charm. And Mother was happy, and Mother was taken care of, and Mother was content. And that was my only concern. I wanted my mother taken care of, not taken advantage of, taken care of.
Well, you had mentioned legal, and legal can become an important part of this.
Legal is very much a part of it. When Mother passed, she died at Tanner here in Carrollton, and the doctor came in, and he looked at me. As I said, I'm the only. My other brothers are far away from us. I was there, and he said, "Are you her son?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you have power of attorney? Do you have a health care directive? Because your mother cannot speak for herself. She's never going to know anything else again for the rest of her life." He said, "Do you have?" I said, "Yes, I do." And thank God I said, "Yes, I do," because without that, Mother would have laid there indefinitely. So he said, what was her desire? I said, Mother's desire was, if there was no hope for recovery, and she did not know anything, she did not want to live in that condition. And I said, do what you have to do. And so they unhooked her from the machine she was hooked up to, and I held her hand, and her sister held her hand, and 2 hours later she went to be with Jesus. But without that directive, we would have been powerless, Steve. That's where the attorney comes in. Wills, trust, powers of attorney, healthcare directives, living wills. Those are all things that need to be put in place, but few people have them. Unfortunately, Steve, few people have them. That's where Eric Abney with Shadrax and Palmer comes into the picture.
Well, taking care of the elderly, honoring the father and the mother is critical for a society to be healthy and prosperous and strong. Long Term Care Symposium, April 30th, from 1 to 3 p.m. at Sewell Mill Event Center this coming Saturday. Star-studded lineup. That's what it says. Star-studded
and
lineup.
it is, Steve. It's the all-star. I call them the long-term care all-stars, and you're going to hear from each one of these people. Everyone that I've mentioned in their level of care expertise. Eric Abney, the attorney, is going to talk about legal planning. And I'm going to talk a little bit about financial planning. So it's going to be a star-studded lineup. It's going to be a very informative event. I guarantee you, people will leave and they'll know something they did not know when they walked in the door.
Different levels of health care. Number 1. Number 2, how much it costs. Number 3, who provides the care. Number 4, who pays for the care. And number 5, can they really take my house? If you need more information, 770-574-8686, 574-8686. Do you need to pre-register or anything?
No, just show up. A lot of people have called me to ask, can they bring their adult children?
Absolutely.
We welcome those adult children because, as Steve and I can both attest to, those adult children are the ones that's going to be winding up giving the care or directing the care or deciding where the care is going to be given. So they're going to be involved in mom and dad's care. They need to be there, Steve.
Our gratitude to Randy Sanders, president of Sanders Associates Insurance. We salute him for all he's done in his career and continues to do. Join him this Saturday. And thank you for listening to the Community Voice here on WLBB Carrollton.